Hello lovely people, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are well. Today we are back with another review. If you want to know why I'm putting that in inverted commas, stick around and I'll explain why in a second. But here we are to talk all things Midsummer Night's Dream at the Globe Theatre in London. So if you want to know what I thought, stick around and we'll get into it in 2 little seconds. So here we are back talking about Midsummer Night's Dream. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we'll get into it in 2 seconds. But firstly, I did say before, we're going to explain why I am rambling on. So basically, for every show that I see, I like to do 2 separate videos, time and willing permitted. The first one being the Nervous Guide. The Nervous Guide was the last video. The Nervous Guide is everything you need to know about a show before you go in, whether that be sensory warnings, content warnings, a view from my seat, information about the theatre if it's something that I don't really know or may think is helpful, merchandise bought. I think that's basically it. Basically, if I think it might be helpful to know before you go in to make your experience at the theatre a little bit calmer and more relaxing and less nervous, that's when that goes in. This video is the second video. The second video is the review. Review is always put in inverted commas because at the end of the day I'm in no way professional. I just like going to see the theatre, and sometimes I go alone. When you go alone, you haven't got the chance to talk through the show after the show. The things you liked, the things you didn't like, the things that you want to tell the world around about. And that is why I make this video. So yeah, that was quite quick. Let's get into my thoughts, my feelings and everything in between on A Midsummer Night's Dream at the Globe Theatre. So this is my first Midsummer Night's Dream rodeo. This is actually my 3rd iteration of the show now in the last 2 years. I saw one version at the Bridge last summer, and then this year I have already seen the rep version in Birmingham at the start of May. I saw this version at the end of May, and I'm now filming this video in June. Yeah, time frames. Each version I have seen has been directed differently, created differently, and have had a slightly different feel to them, even though the text in the end is the same text. This version, which has been directed by Emily Lim and has intermittent music by Jim Fortune, has more of a traditional feel, but at the end of the day it's not like traditional. It's not like Shakespearean costumes or anything like that. Costumes are quite fun. They have been designed, or the concept of them have been designed by Fly Davis. They involve sparkles, glitter, another fabulous ass head, if you will. There is even a Hamilton t-shirt at one point, because why not? But I don't know if it was being in the Globe Theatre itself or just something about it felt a little bit more traditional than the last version I saw, which was the rep version. I don't know, but I still just really enjoyed it. I loved the costumes, and it was just very clever, and I really enjoyed the way it was put together by the creative team at the Globe. Altogether, this version just felt really fun and creative and clever and just joyful, which is just all you need from a piece of theatre, I think. So yeah, creatively really enjoyed. 10 out of 10, wouldn't change a thing, loved it. Moving on to the cast. Now, the first thing to mention about the cast in my show was that the roles of Oberon and Theseus were played by a cover. Now, I saw this show on the 17th of May, and when I saw it, I was greeted by this. Now, I know you can't see it, so I shall pop it up here, but it basically put, due to the indisposition of an actor, the role of Oberon and Theseus will be read by Jason Battersby. Now, I was like, I don't think I actually clocked that it said read by when I took a picture of that. Then just before the show started, one of the actors, who is the person who plays Quince, who is amongst others basically the director of the players, very confusing I know, announced that the role was going to be performed by Jason, and that in the Globe there isn't necessarily an understudy. They have covers, but it's not the same thing. So for our show, Jason was going to be performing as Oberon and Theseus, and to give them all the love, and that it would be a slightly different experience. So Jason was brilliant in his role. He took on it excellently. There was obviously no costume for him, so he was basically, I assume, more in his normal fairy costume, but with a black/grey hoodie on, and he had a book to help him with what he needed to say. But at the end of the day, it worked really well, and I actually didn't mind this aspect. It was a different experience, and I feel like everyone was behind him. It was excellent. Moving on to the roles of Titania and Hippolyta. Now, there was 2 reasons why I was like, hey, let's go and watch this show. Technically, there was 3. Firstly, the weather was really nice that day. It was sunny but not too warm, and I thought, hey, let's go and watch some outside theatre. Number 2, it is Midsummer Night's Dream. I really enjoy the story of Midsummer Night's Dream. Who knew I would enjoy something by Shakespeare? But alas, I did and do, and I will probably watch another iteration, who knows. And 3, the roles of Hippolyta and Titania have been and are played in this production, should I say, by Audrey Brisson. Now, you can't see her, but she lives on my wall and has done for many years. Behind me, and I know you only get to see some of it, I have posters and pictures and postcards and all sorts. And just off here, just above the Fisherman's Friend's feet that you can see, is a poster, and that poster is of Amelie. I loved that show so much, and Audrey was the titular, should I say, character of Amelie. So having the chance to see Audrey again in real life was amazing. Titania and Hippolyta are obviously different characters completely from Amelie, but there's something about the energy that Audrey brings to a role that just makes everything so fun, and I just really enjoyed watching her again after all these years, because I haven't actually seen her in anything since Amelie, so it was really cool to have the opportunity to see Audrey again. And yeah, I really enjoyed watching her versions of those characters. the young quad, as I like to call them, of Demetrius, Hermia, Lysander and Helena this time were played respectively by, I apologise if I butcher anybody's names, Gavi Zinchera, Sophie Cox, Mel Lowe and Ramaya Weaver. Again, I always really enjoy that side story because this show and this story has multiple different stories going on through it. So you obviously have the side story of the players and they're getting ready for the wedding. You have the young lovers and their to-dos. You also have yeah, you basically just have a lot of things going on, and I just really was here for it. And those 4 actors again were absolutely joyful to watch. Other people and characters and things I wanted to mention. Firstly, we have playing the role of Bottom, Adrian Richards. The role of Bottom is always one of my favourites in this show, and this was no exception. Again, really enjoyed Bottom. Why am I so childish? I really enjoyed Adrian as Bottom, and yeah, another top marks production performance again. And finally, I wanted to mention the character of Puck again, and I have to say Puck in every iteration is always going to be one of my favourite characters, and the 3 different versions I have seen have had 3 completely different feels to their Pucks. The bridge was kind of mischievous and cheeky, and a little bit like ooh. Then obviously the rep had the more outgoing, like wild performer centric Puck. This one had the wonderful Michael Grady Hall, who had more, I feel like his Puck was more comedic based, and when I read his like information, his biography in the program, it kind of made sense because he is more from a comedic background in his acting styles previously. Just really enjoyed his version of Puck. Also, he was the man who dragged me onto the stage to do my part. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I did talk about it in the first video in the Noah's Guide, but I actually was part of this show when I saw it, and yeah, he seemed the most loveliest human being when he said, I'm just going to drag you on, all you need to do is say whatever I say into your ear through a microphone. I was like, okay. Yes, I really enjoyed Michael's Puck and would 100% recommend. Like I said in the Noah's Guide, and I have just mentioned it, this iteration used participation quite a lot. Both individuals who sometimes end up on the stage, myself included. Like I said in the Noah's Guide, there are 4 people who get dragged onto the stage towards the end of the show for different roles. There is also entire audience participation, try saying that quickly, in the form of singing and moving, and at one point we are all wall. You are asked to link in with each other, like arm link, and you are the wall. It's fun and I loved every moment of it. This just had the best feel to it. I watched it on a Sunday afternoon on the 1 o'clock matinee, and everyone was just having the best time. The weather, like I said, was lovely. It was warm but not too warm. It was sunny but not too sunny. It was just the perfect May day. And yeah, I would 100% recommend checking out this version at the Globe before it closes. its last performance is on the 29th of August. There is, I feel like there is like a timetable with the Globe over this summer, and that not every performance every single day is Midsummer Night's Dream. I could be incorrect in saying that, but there is a lot of posters out front at the Globe, and I feel like they're all kind of fitting in with each other. So please go to the Globe's website or onto TodayTix or wherever you want to buy your tickets and look when it is on, because I would 100% recommend checking this out. It was so fun, and possibly, may I say it, possibly my favourite version of the show I've seen so far, and I've seen 3. Gasp. But I think it's true. So on that bombshell, I'm going to wind up this video. If you have any questions or you want to just say something in the comments, please do. I love a comment. No one ever does. Sad face. I will still make these videos because it entertains me if nothing else. But yeah, I'm going to leave this video here. Say thank you very much for watching. I love you all lots, and the final thing to say is the last thing I say every single time, which is so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, and goodbye. Bye everyone.